For almost a decade, an entire village lived in panic. A single leopard became the terror of the Himalayan mountains, always attacking at night, choosing its victims with surgical precision. What turned this predator into a serial killer? Today you will discover the story of the leopard of Rudraprayag. Our story begins in northern India, in a mountainous region called Rudraprayag, located in the current state of Uttarakhand. At the beginning of the 20th century, India was still a British colony, and rural life followed a slow pace, guided by tradition and spirituality. But this tranquility was about to be shattered by something far beyond the villagers' understanding. The first attacks occurred around 1918. Residents began to disappear without a trace. Torn bodies were found on trails, inside houses, or not found at all. Panic spread quickly. Unlike other felines that avoid humans, this leopard seemed to have learned to hunt them. Its ambushes were precise, silent, and deadly. People began to live locked up in their homes after sunset. Many slept with spears next to their beds. The simple task of fetching water or firewood became a life-threatening risk. The most frightening reports tell of the leopard invading houses, breaking down doors, and even pulling its victims out through windows. For many, it was not just an animal. It was a demon, a vengeful spirit, a living curse. In a deeply spiritualized society, the terror of the leopard was associated with supernatural forces. Rituals were performed, offerings were left in temples. Some said it was a sadhu, monk, reincarnated in the form of a beast to punish sinners. Meanwhile, the death toll mounted. It is estimated that the leopard killed more than 125 people, a frightening number for a single predator. Experienced hunters tried to eliminate the threat, but the leopard always seemed to anticipate their steps. It would escape traps, disappear into the thick bush, and only attack again when everyone relaxed. It was as if it knew what humans were planning. This unusual intelligence led many to believe that it was invincible. With no alternatives, the British authorities called in Jim Corbett, the most famous man-eating cat hunter in Indian history. He had faced deadly tigers and leopards before, but he admitted that the one in Rudraprayag was the toughest of all. When Jim Corbett arrived in Rudraprayag, he found a traumatized population. They saw him as a hero, but the task ahead was anything but simple. The leopard did not leave ordinary tracks. It did not roar. It did not hunt in patterns. It was more like a ghost than a wild cat. For months, Corbett could do only one thing: study his enemy. Corbett studied attack patterns, slept alone in the forest for several nights, and set ambushes. For 9 months, he hunted the leopard without success. Corbett tried traps with fake human bait, traps with goat meat, and even traps with real, recently buried bodies. But the leopard seemed to know what was human and what was a trap. Once, he tied a live goat to a branch with automatic rifles ready to fire at the slightest movement. The leopard approached, sensed danger, and disappeared. It was as if he were playing a game with the hunter. On the night of May 1926, after 9 months of trying, Jim Corbett decided to risk it all. He positioned himself on the porch of a house near a temple where the leopard had made previous attacks. It was a silent night, with a full moon. Corbett knew the leopard could be just a few feet away, invisible. Hours passed. The silence was so absolute that every heartbeat felt like thunder. Until finally, Corbett heard soft footsteps. Not an ordinary animal, but a predator in attack mode. Nerves on edge, Corbett spotted a shadow approaching the trail. He fired. The leopard fled, wounded. Knowing that wounded beasts are the most dangerous, Corbett followed the trail of blood into the thicket. And there, in the pale light of dawn, he saw it again. A second shot. The leopard fell, and the terror of Rudraprayag was over. Jim Corbett would later write of this encounter, "I have never faced an animal so cunning, so careful, and yet so deadly. He knew what he was doing and chose his victims as a hunter chooses his target." The leopard's body was examined. No sign of old wounds or disease. He was healthy, lethal, and completely adapted to hunting humans. Why did this leopard develop a taste for human flesh? The most widely accepted explanation is a grim one. At the time, the region was hit by a flu epidemic and famine. Many bodies were buried in precarious conditions. This may have led the leopard to consume human flesh and adapt to this type of prey slower and more predictable than wild prey. The story of the Rudraprayag leopard became a book, a documentary, and is remembered to this day as a unique case of adaptation by a predator. It was not sick. It simply adapted to the environment altered by humans. Today, it rests as a legend, half beast, half ghost in the darkest archives of wildlife history. Did you like this real and scary story? Then leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. Here, you will find the wildest stories on the planet. Until next time.